India 1-0 up in the series. It's time for game number 2. There's been no change as far as the venue is concerned. It's still Ahmedabad. The two teams, well, we'll tell you about the changes there, but at the very top, a quick reminder of toss news. West Indies have won the toss and have asked India to bat first. May not be the worst thing in the world as far as India is concerned. Give themselves a little bit of a challenge to try and clinch the series right here, right now. First of all, let's welcome the panel on Cricbuzz Live as we look ahead to the second one-day international. Dinesh Karthik, Shaun Pollock alongside. Good morning, gentlemen. DK, I'll come to you first. Toss is not the kind of thing that you'd be so fussed about these days. Maybe, Team India have said in the past, let's challenge ourselves, bat first, put all runs on the board.
Yes, I think winning and losing a toss is obviously not something that's completely in your hands. So in many ways, I don't think they'd mind losing this toss and getting an opportunity to bat first. It's good in a way because it'll be good for the batters to get a long hit in, and they'd be looking forward to this. And even yesterday, when they were chasing a small total, they ended up chasing it down in about 28 overs. So they had a lot of overs to spare, but not enough runs to get. So this time we'll give them a good opportunity for all the batters to get in and obviously have a nice crack at West Indies.
Well, we'll talk about the 11s, but I'll welcome Shaun Pollock first with not necessarily team news, but obviously when we talked about the toss, Shaun, we didn't see the big man, Rohit's mate, Tyrone Pollard, walking out to toss. Instead, Nicholas Pooran, because he's a little bit under the weather. Will that be a big blow for the West Indies?
Yeah, I think it'll be huge. I mean, he's a fantastic player for them. I think he's got a real presence in that side, and he's a real character. So he likes to lead from the front. And when you've got your captain who's so involved in all the tactics in it, there's no doubt that they will miss him. No surprise for me that they decide to bowl first. I think if there is any dew that's going to present itself later on, that's obviously one of the factors. But more importantly, I think their batting has been so poor that they're actually unsure what a decent score is and what they could possibly post. So I think for them to have a target set, and then they can say to themselves, okay, we'll try and chase this down in a certain manner. Because I honestly believe if they bat first at the moment, they're not sure to how to structure it. We saw at the interview at the toss where he mentions that, they got to bat the 50 overs, but that's the result. It's the process that I think is lacking in that side. The ability to put partnerships together, to play roles where one guy's batting through, other one's being aggressive, and try and fit into their natural game. So no surprise for me. I think it gives them their best chance of being able to win. Target that they have to set or are set and try and chase that.
Yeah, well, Pollard did speak about it in the previous game. He mentioned that, the toss would be crucial. And since Shaun Pollock has already talked about the chinks in the armor, as it were, the West Indies batsmen, and today they'll be chasing. So I think it's worth delving a little bit deeper into that because, DK, it's one of those, they're a flamboyant side. T20 cricket was made for them. They're starting to find their way back in Test cricket with Craig Brathwaite and company. But in between, they've got a few issues to address. And I say in between 50 over cricket.
I completely get it. I think, of the three formats at this point of time, they're trying to find their feet in ODI cricket. They didn't have a great World Cup as well. They had a completely different set of players, different teams. So they would be obviously trying to figure out what is the best way moving forward in the ODI format. Also, the fact that they lost to Ireland, which must have been a bit of a body blow to them as well. So they are trying to figure out, and like Polly said, I think that was perfect. I think the batting is obviously not sure of itself. They're trying out various players. Obviously, if you see the previous, they had a Hetmeyer, they had Roston Chase, then they had Sherfane Rutherford. All these players missing out, some due to fitness issues, some due to form issues. So there's a lot of small issues there. And if you can see, the top three averaging 30 and number 4 to 7 averaging 26, which basically gives you an idea, which says that they score a maximum of 194 runs up to the top 7 wickets that are going to fall. And that's never going to be good enough. If you're only able to score 200 and 220 these days, that's definitely not good enough for you to win a game of cricket.
I'm glad DK put that in perspective because sometimes we can look at numbers and just let it pass by. Okay, average is 30. What should he be averaging? 33? Well, I think when you add up the numbers the way Dinesh Karthik just did, that tells you the kind of totals because we are in an era of 300 plus totals. Maybe it was 250 a few years ago. That's changed. Shaun, you had a point of view on this as well in terms of the breakdown, but also the individual batsmen's averages.
Yeah, I think they are struggling. As DK mentions, they're trying to find personnel, aren't they? They really are trying to get that guy who can create some consistency. We mentioned in the last game, and that's been the key. Where do you find your guys? Got Shai Hope, who's averaging 51, and Nicholas Pooran, in 32 innings, he's averaging 41. Shamai Brooks, that's too early really to tell. Small sample size. Darren Bravo, 115 games. Pollard just averaging 26 and 113. Holder 25 and 121. It's not consistent enough. I mean, you just compare that to the Indian batting lineup and you have a look at the amount of games and the consistency. So in their top 4 or 5, you've often got guys who are averaging close to 50 or even more, and they are consistent. One of them normally comes to the party in the innings, and I think that's what's been missing for the West Indies. So that's, as I say, I think the game plan wise is also being found wanting. So I think the chase is better for them.
Yep, well, that's as far as the toss news is concerned. How worrying is this for the West Indies? We're going to tell you later on the show about where they stand. We'll remind you, we told you in the first game in terms of the ODI Super League and what it means to them. But for now, let's focus on Team India. We were expecting KL Rahul to walk into the side. The only question was, who makes way? Is it Deepak Hooda or is it Ishan Kishan? Well, there's the answer for you. Right at the top, it's Ishan Kishan who's made way for Lokesh Rahul to come back into the side. Fair enough. I mean, that's the way I'm sure Ishan Kishan would have known, DK, when he walked in, that he is essentially in there because of the COVID situation, plus Rahul, who was missing out due to personal reasons.
Absolutely. I think we all understand that COVID is making, player availability very uncertain a lot of the times. And that's how he got his opportunity. And now that he got the opportunity, I thought that he batted really well in the limited time that he batted. He hit a shot that he was good at and he got out. Now, when KL Rahul walks in, obviously somebody's got to make way, and he's opened in South Africa and he'll obviously be looking to open here. And as predicted, at least by me, I thought that Ishan Kishan would be replaced, and rightfully so. The bigger question is, if when Shikhar Dhawan comes back, who is going to be replaced? Is it going to be KL Rahul who's going to go down the order and then obviously Deepak Hooda makes way? Or is it going to be another option? That we will see. But for the moment, it looks like KL Rahul has replaced Ishan Kishan, and rightfully so for the second ODI.
Well, I think, Shaun, we'll get your views on that because, again, going by history and going by what Rahul has done in ODI cricket and has batted in the middle, probably the answer to that question is Dhawan opens with Rohit and Rahul plays that other role at number 5 or 6.
Yeah, for me, it would be a no-brainer. That would be definitely the situation. Hooda out, Rahul comes in. I think sometimes we do get caught up a little bit, from a commentary perspective or from behind the scenes. We love to see new faces, don't we? We love to see new guys given an opportunity. But at the end of the day, you need to bank on people that are going to get the job done. And there are certain times to give guys a chance. Like if there's an injury, Ishan Kishan gets a game. But generally, when you're playing your best side, you want to try and have that formula nice and settled. I mean, we compare it to the West Indies who's searching for players. India aren't. They've got more than enough. But I think you do need to back your guys who've got the experience, have stood up before, and can do the job. Maybe they have to shift their roles. Maybe they all like to bat in the top 3. I think there's lots of them who want to get in earlier rather than later. But for the team, you have to sometimes suck it up and do a different role. But still, the best players must play.
And Rahul's average and his numbers in those positions does suggest that he's not out of place there by any means. He's got an average at number 5 in excess of 50, DK.
Look, as we've discussed before, even during the South Africa series, I think personally KL Rahul would be a fabulous opener. But given the sense with how the team is going, they're happy with Shikhar Dhawan opening. And there is no doubt Rahul will do a fabulous job batting at number 5 as well, with Surya slated to come in at number 6. So I think for the long run, that's how it's going to be for some time, where Rohit opens with Shikhar, then we have Virat followed by Rishabh, KL Rahul, and then there is a Suryakumar Yadav. I think it's a very fair batting order. The questions and the equations change when a Ravindra Jadeja gets fit and when a Hardik Pandya comes back into the team. But let's cross that bridge when the time comes. For the moment, I think this is a very good batting order. And for this game, obviously, we have a Deepak Hooda who's slated to come in at 6, who did a really good job in the first innings, in the first ODI.
But I'll stay with you, DK, for a moment because a again, in the realms of wicketkeeper batsman, as it were, what would your advice to Ishan Kishan be at a time like this? Because obviously this is a format he's moving to, he's wanting to settle into, but maybe not yet anywhere close to being a permanent part of.
I think Ishan Kishan by now would know. Among the slots that's available, the one that has the most competition is for the opening. There is no doubt. There are way too many openers and just two spots. So he's going to be aware of that. But the good thing for Ishan Kishan is he not only is a keeper, he's a very good fielder as well, which always helps you, and you double up as an option on the field as well. So they're going to look at him as a pure opener a lot of the times, just like they did in the first ODI. And he's got tremendous skill, and he's somebody who can attack from ball one, which is a skill that not everybody possesses, and that makes him a very special cricketer. And in the new age, the way the one day cricket played, I think they try and attack a lot from ball one. The teams that have been successfully able to do that consistently have done very well in multi-nation tournaments. So he definitely has a good chance to come into the scheme of things.
Certainly does. But, we mentioned the batting order. I think Suryakumar Yadav is an interesting case in point if we have a look at that. If we've said whether it's today's game or whether it's looking ahead to see Surya slips from 5 to 6 when Rahul slots in there, it'll be an interesting case study, because as far as Suryakumar Yadav is concerned, let's have a look at this first, and then I'll get Shaun Pollock and Dinesh Karthik in. He obviously likes to say, I've been batting at all positions and I'm flexible to bat anywhere. Wherever the team management decides and wants me to bat, I'm available. Whichever position I bat at, I'll try to win games for my team, try to do the same thing, express myself and be fearless as I am always. Now, Shaun, this seems like we've heard this before. Virtually every person you ask who's a good team man will say, I'll do what the team management wants. But if we have to sit here and say what's the best position for him, and of course for the team as a result, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it would be at 5 and 6. You do hear that, and if that was coming from Ishan Kishan, for example, you would think to yourself, okay, I'm not so sure. But Suryakumar, what is he, 31, 32? So he's been around the traps for a long period of time. He's found himself in list A games and in India A games and countless occasions playing different roles. So if there is one person who can just be flexible, a bit like Rahul, you can be flexible up the order, down the order. But I don't see where he fits in higher. And I think that's his understanding. And that's in many ways what you want from a team member. You don't want him just to be going to the press and saying that. You actually want him to be thinking that, and his mindset to be, I'm here to do a job. I've waited for 7, 8, 9 years to get an opportunity to play for India. Wherever they need me, I'm going to do the job. And as I say, with the experience he's got, he's able to fit into those different roles.
Yeah, I think Shaun got exactly where I was coming from. When I said template, I meant for some people, it might look like I just have to go and say the right thing, DK. But in Sky's case, I think it actually fits.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we have to understand that, when he played his initial phase of IPL cricket for KKR, he batted at 6 and 7 a lot and did very well there. But where he's really blossomed and taken his batting to a new level is when he's batted at 3 consistently open for MI. So again, he is a case of somebody who has done very, very well at the top of the order and help teams win tournaments. So that is a very, very important factor there. In ODI cricket, I can completely understand that, if you want him to bat at 5 and 6, I can completely understand, because he has the skill set, he will do well. In T20 cricket, I do think the best version of him comes out when he bats higher up the order, because he sets the tone, he puts pressure on the bowlers, and he has the ability to bat 10, 12 overs at a similar tempo throughout, which is a very special skill and an attribute to have. So for the moment in ODI cricket, definitely 5, 6 might be a great place for him to bat. But when it comes to T20, I think he's blossomed at the top of the order and done really well. And he's been one of the retained players for MI only for that reason.
Well, let me throw in one more name in the mix, just to confuse all of us, but it's representative of India's bench strength in a sense right now. A couple of players who are not available for selection today. They've had a little bit of a light warm-up post their positive COVID test. One is Shikhar Dhawan. The other is a certain gentleman called Shreyas Iyer. So assuming he slots back into the side, Shaun Pollock, Dinesh Karthik, Shaun, I'll come to you first. Is it Sky who makes way again?
I don't think we get paid enough to make these decisions. I think you need to throw it to the selectors and get them to find out. I just think you guys are really fortunate with the wealth of a batting ability that you have. And as DK touches on, the guys at the top of the order, I think the biggest challenge for you as an Indian side is going to be finding the right 5 and 6. And when I say that is, in the 50-over format, you've got to develop finishes. I think that is so key. It's often you'll get the runs at the top of the order, but who's going to do the best job of finishing? When Jadeja comes in, he's one of those guys who does that. But in that middle order, and with the amount of T20 cricket that's played, everyone who's decent, when I'm talking about these guys, all of them are going to bat in the top 3 for their franchise, invariably. And that doesn't really give you that amount of experience at closing games out. So I think Hardik Pandya, for example, he's probably the one who comes in that middle order and does it in the T20 format, gets continual practice at doing it, and probably can translate that to the one-day stuff even when he returns. Shreyas Iyer wants to go higher. He wants to move franchise because why? He wants to bat in the top 3. He wants to make a name for himself. So I think that is the challenge. And also the one-day series is these days, it's no longer 7, is it? I mean, you used to sometimes play 7 matches. Now it's always 3. They make sure they just want to fit them in. The focus is on T20 and test matches. And you can have a guy who bats at number 6, someone like, for example, on the South African side, David Miller. He has a series where you win the one game comfortably, he doesn't get to the crease. Then he walks in for 10 balls in the back end and has to smash it. And then maybe in another game also doesn't get much of a hit. But he's the guy in the pressure situations when you need to get a team in the World Cup matches, that you have to have the experience and the ability to do it. And I think that's where India need to be conscious of developing that person. So I would think whoever you want to put in there, I'm sitting on the fence about the names, but whoever you're going to get in there, they need to learn that role as quick as possible. Stick with 2 guys, Jadeja and someone else, and they need to become the finishers.
Fair enough. So I think we've answered almost 2 questions there. So DK, this is a 2-part question for you right now, since Sean's already brought this up. One, of course, is Shreyas Iyer, assuming he does come in, say, for the 3rd match. Now, again, if you've got to reshuffle, you said Deepak Hooda goes out for Shikhar Dhawan, Rahul comes down the order. Does that mean Sky has to sit out for Shreyas Iyer and maybe he leapfrogs a place with Rishabh Pant? You can do that order. So 1 is to answer that question. 2 is contenders for India's finisher when going forward.
It's the first part of the question. I think we have to understand with a player like Shreyas Iyer coming in, he's batting consistently at 3 for the franchise he's batting. So where do you see him? If he's going to bat 3 consistently and then you slot him in at number 5 and 6 here, is that fair to him? Are you getting the best out of him? Especially with COVID being around and so much uncertainty for most of the players, he will get his opportunity. Now, in the limited opportunity Surya has played, he's done really well for himself. He's done his cause no harm at all. So it would be rather unfair. For an example, when we were discussing whether Hooda will be removed from today's game, and we felt bad for him already. We were like, he just played the one game, he's done well, we're looking to replace him. Now, if you do that to a Surya, obviously it's hard. But this is what happens when strong Australian teams, strong West Indian teams, strong South African teams at whatever point of time was there, you always find it hard to fit in everybody. You're never going to get, everybody is not going to be fair. Everybody is not going to feel loved. That's part of how how the cricket world works. You can't expect that. And I understand this. And in the system, the good part is they have a tournament like IPL, which obviously gives them the time and opportunities to showcase their skills. So for me, when a Shreyas Iyer comes, I think the important question for obviously the think tank is where do you want him to bat? If it is in the middle of the order, then obviously keep him there and keep rotating him there. If it is the top, which is 3 and 4, then you figure out where does he fit in there. That is the answer for me. Now, the second part of the question, obviously, I think when Jadeja and Hardik come in, by most accounts, they'll be walking into the side. And when they do come in, it will be for the finisher's role. They have never batted anywhere higher up. It's always been doing that role, and they'll be very comfortable doing it. So if they are going to take 6 and 7, who is going to be there at 5 for India? And there's going to be a lot of names thrown in. Or is it going to be 7 and 8 for Hardik and Jadeja? And one of the top 6 can bowl as well. That would be ideal because that gives them 6 bowling options and depth in batting. Are we going to go in that direction? Now, these are the questions that the think tank will have answers for slowly but surely. because for the moment, I don't think one-day cricket is a priority at all. I think the priority is T20 cricket, and that's what they'll be looking to do in trying to get the best team ready for the World Cup that's going to be happening around the corner at the end of the year.
Yep, fair enough. But there'll be half a eye and ear on the other, the 50 over World Cup, which is also not that far away, which will of course be in home conditions. So both sets of formats have to be looked at. But as DK rightly said, for the moment, it's Test matches, T20 matches, and let's put in an ODI here and there. What used to happen to T20 cricket when it first came out in 2008 and 9. But moving forward, there's two teams playing out there. The West Indies have a forced change in a sense. Karen Pollard is unwell. Puran came out for the toss. Who makes way, or rather, who comes in Pollard's place is the man we've been waiting to see, Odean Smith. He's a big guy. He can bowl pretty quick. Remember, Pollard didn't bowl in the previous game, so he gives that extra bowling option to the West Indies. And of course, not sure he'll quite slot in ahead of Jason Holder in the batting order. He likes to come in at 7, 8 even for his franchise, but he can give it a tonk. He's the guy who'll come in first ball 6, gone 90 meters. Shaun, obviously they're going to miss Pollard, but at least we get to see Odean Smith.
Yeah, we do. We can see what he's about. I've seen a few highlights from him from the different leagues, and he does look like a fantastic striker. I must admit, I would have been tempted just to a genuine batter the way the West Indies have been going. But interesting to also see what role he plays with the ball. I think the mindset for the West Indies bowlers will also be different. It was almost throw everything at India in the first one-day international. We haven't got enough runs on the board. We have to pick up wickets. That mindset will have to change, and it'll be interesting to see, working with Puran, how they adjust to the different roles that the players are going to play. Like you were saying, what sort of a contribution will he make in this game? Didn't get much in the last one. So I think that's going to be the challenge for them. And Odean Smith, I think he would love nothing better than to walk to the crease with a few overs left, needing to crash a few out the ground. I don't know what sort of other role he can play with regards to batting for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, DK, you've seen him at close quarters, but also interesting point that Shaun makes about the kind of role the bowlers will play, the approach they'll have, because in the last game, there really weren't enough runs. They didn't even turn to their fifth bowler till I think, the 25th over, when the match was almost done and dusted. They had to go to their key bowlers and try and pull out a rabbit from the hat, which never came.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think they had very little to play with, and that was a problem for them. And that's been an Achilles heel for them for some time now. Odean Smith, when I look at that batting order, I do feel that, they're very light. I mean, they're playing 5 batters, 3 all-rounders, and, 3 bowlers who can actually bat a bit. But for me, again, that is a team which is very light on the batting. I mean, they're putting themselves under more pressure, actually, in many ways by chasing. Generally, they say if you're a weak batter, try and bat first with less pressure and try and score as many runs. But as Paulie said, maybe they're a little confused as to what sort of target they can set. So, whether they need to push at a certain stage or just see through, that's becoming a question. So, the good thing is they've been a terrific T20 team, and what they've been really good at is chasing. So they'll be very comfortable with that. And I know they have options with the bowling as well. We wouldn't see more than a couple of bowlers bowling their full quota of 10 overs. I feel there'll be a lot of rotation in the bowling. Nicholas Puran has led the team well in the limited time that he's led them. So it's going to be very interesting. I think the strong point is obviously their bowling and the fact that they have all-rounders as well. But it'll be very, very, very interesting to see what sort of score, they would like to defend India at, or at least try and stop India at, so that they give themselves a chance of chasing.
Yeah, if you gave them a chance, they'd say 125, thank you, no more than that. That's all we want to chase. But suspicions are it's going to be a lot more than that. Power pack batting lineup. Kohli due, how much he's due for? We're not going to get into that discussion. But if we mention Virat Kohli, I think it's worth just having a wee look at his dismissals in the last 5 innings before this series. Now, I wonder, is there a pattern, or are we reading too much into it? We know his love or lack of with leg spin in the past, but Adil Rashid, Moeen Ali, Tabraiz Shamsi, twice to Keshav Maharaj. Shaun, you would have seen those last 3 up close and personal. Is there a bit of a pattern here for Kohli to maybe look at?
Yeah, I don't think he'd be too concerned. I mean, yes, he's getting out, and obviously in the middle order, you often get to face those kind of bowlers. I think that the biggest surprise in that whole package was Shamsi, the dismissal to him. I mean, he was out playing the sweep shot. We haven't seen Virat play a sweep shot hardly ever, does he? He's not one of his big turn to shots. So I liked the way he looked in our 3 1 days in South Africa. I thought his intensity was there. I thought he just probably got himself out at odd times in odd ways. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think the amount of spin he's played over the years, I think he's just down in confidence. I think in many ways he's probably putting even more pressure on himself than ever before. He wants to get the 100. He wants to continue to contribute and get big scores. He's no longer the captain. So he wants to feel like he's one of the main contributors with the bat, and coming off this form he's had, he's probably just feeling a little bit. And everyone goes through these lulls in their careers. He's just probably taken a lot longer than what people would have expected, but I'm sure he'll bounce out of it soon.
Would you read into those 5, DK, at all?
Whenever stats like these come, I always remember what Navjot Singh Sidhu in one of his Sidhuism says: stats are like bikinis, they reveal more than they conceal. So I feel this one is a lot like that. I don't even remember the first 2 dismissals of Adil Rashid and Moeen Ali, and he's probably played about 30-40 matches after he's played spinners a lot. So I don't think there's a fair stat at all, because I can understand the last 3, and if you do watch it closely, it's not because he has picked a ball or he's got out because he's looking to play a certain way and he's getting out consistently the same. One he swept, one he looked to pull, he got out, and the third one completely stopped on him when he looked to drive. So there's no case of there being a technical weakness per se. So I wouldn't even be bothered about that stat. I think it's highly misleading, and I don't think he has an issue with spin at all. If at all anything, I think West Indies bowled well to him last game.
Fair enough. Sack the producer, sack the stats guy, or just keep the bikinis on. Take your pick. But for the moment, we've had the Indian team throw us another little googly. Just as we were wondering, great, KL Rahul comes in, lovely. He slots in next to Rohit Sharma, who walks out to open Shaun Pollock, Rishabh Pant, along with Rohit Sharma. How about that?
That is a big surprise. I wouldn't have seen that one coming. It must be the focus on left-hander, right-hander combination. I think that can be the only thing for me. I think they like to have that up front so that they can't maybe start with the spinners. And obviously, I think they probably feel they can dictate terms against this West Indian bowling lineup in the top 10 or the first 10 overs. I think that's why Shikhar Dhawan holds the cards with regards to when he's fit, getting back into the mix because of his left hand at the top of the order with a partnership with Rohit. It does definitely make life more difficult for you as a fast bowler, adjusting your lines, trying to keep things under check. So a little bit surprised that they've decided to do it, but not surprised by the wanting the left-hander, right-hander combination. So many teams like that.
Yeah, it's a bit like one of our Joy Factor questions where we don't know the answer. Who's going to open with Rohit Sharma? Obvious answer seems to be KL Rahul. Joy's answer is Rishabh Pant. Your reaction to that before we go to Joy's question and wrap the show, DK?
I'm pretty much perplexed, but I like but one answer is sure, I feel. Now that Rishabh Pant is open, I think we'll only be seeing KL Rahul in the middle order. So irrespective of whether Shikhar Dhawan comes or not, I think that issue is resolved. So this is where they want KL Rahul to bat, and that will be in the middle of the order.
Fair point. I think that's well spotted there. Now we shall go to see if Joy's question is as tough as Rohit Sharma's batting order. Let's go and find out if it is or it isn't. Waqar Younis achieved this feat 3 times in international cricket. The last person to do it was Shaheen Shah Afridi. What record are we talking about? Seems fairly straightforward. You've got to figure out which way you're going to go. Waqar Younis, Shaheen Shah Afridi. And now, of course, all that is left is with this new batting order for India. Rahul in the middle, Pant up front, Kohli looking to get big runs. India asked to bat first. How many are they going to get? Who wants to go first and set the benchmark?
Come on, DK. Hit us with a figure.
312.
Yeah. That's a big figure. That's a big figure.
Okay, I'm going for 300 on the mark.
Oh, dear. That's what I was kind of going to go for. Just thinking, are they going to go really big? They might. But I'll go for it. 326. 326. Why not? They're going to go big. Let's go really big and see if the West Indians minus Karen Pollard can be tested. Yes, just to remind all of you, one change for each team. Ishan Kishan goes out. KL Rahul comes in, but he's in the middle order for the West Indies. Karen Pollard goes out unwell. Puran captaining the side, and Odean Smith, the all-rounder, will be playing probably batting at 8 and giving us a taste of his bowling. That's all we have on the show. We'll see you on the 15th over on Cricbuzz Combox. From Cricbuzz Live, from Dinesh Karthik, Shaun Pollock and myself, it's goodbye for now.